So when I work with clients, they have a lot of content mapped out because we use mapping processes, which you can get in my book, by the way. But they don't really know how to actually apply it. And so what I do is I give them formats and templates for good hooks that actually engage a viewer so that they're paying attention for a little bit of entertainment value so they can actually hear the message and how you help receive the valuable advice that you're going to give them, and then begin the process of knowing, liking, and trusting you. Business is 3 phases. It's connecting with strangers, it's nurturing the relationship, and then it's presenting an offer. So I'm going to go over all of the different hooks that we use. I talk really fast, so I'm going to try to slow it down, and hopefully you find this helpful and enjoyable. So I've researched some hooks for you now that you're in the swing of content. Cool stats is that one of my best videos, I'm not even looking at my camera, so that's pretty interesting. I'm actually reading a script in the video, which is really cool, and that's the video. This is actually at about 1,400 views. And mind you, in order to do all my case studies, I always start brand new accounts. So this one is a brand new account, has only been posting for 2 weeks. So we do need to do some research before we go into this, and I'll show you in my next video what that research is. But the point of making viral content is that if you do use viral angles and you combine it with your message, then you'll have good content. And you really want to make this stuff your own. You don't want to sound repetitive. So the first angle I love to use is quote a genius. So, Steve Jobs once said that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And then I'll use a quick punchline with my feedback on the point. And it's true that a brand is more of a feeling. It's not just what the features, advantages, and the benefits of your offer are. It's the fact that you actually, are delivering enough value for someone to say, oh yeah, I remember when I was dealing with this problem, I watched this video and this guy talked about X, Y, and Z. And so now my content is giving a lot of context as to how I help because I'm a branding consultant. I'll mix up the examples as I go through here. Instant step is where you're just giving somebody an instant step in order to get what they want. So if you're somebody who's trying to, buy real estate, you do this. You look at your first home, you make sure that it's 20% under the budget that you have for repairs or whatever the helpful advice is. And then you do this. So you see a lot of videos like this where people are like, if you're trying to get this result, you do this, this will happen, and then do this. So if you're trying to gain muscle, you're going to go to the gym, you're going to start lifting weights. And if you notice that you're starting to feel sore, you're going to wait a couple of days before you hit that muscle group again. And then what you'll notice is that you're working out less, but you're actually getting more results. So after you do that, just add 2.5 pounds per workout that you're doing and keep those sections really broken up. And I'm sure you'll see exponentially better results. And so now I'm just giving instant steps that somebody can take, and they're going to remember that when they go to the gym. Oh yeah, that guy had a video where he said that my arms are sore right now. Maybe I shouldn't hit arms today. And if they get a result from that, then they're going to know, like, and trust you a lot more. A third angle I love to use is how do you X. So the framework is how do you use something that is seemingly impossible. So how do you grow a list of app users in under a week? And you don't have to, and then the common problems they have. So like you don't have to run ads in order to do that. The trick is to get people who are actually going to use the apps, and they will naturally tell more people about this. This isn't real advice. I'm making it up on the spot. And the guy who invented the Facebook app, this is Mark Zuckerberg, said that when he was making the app, they did this one feature and that really benefited. It was the poke a friend feature, and that really helped people actually use the app and enjoy it a lot more. So now you're talking about, what you know, how you help, giving a helpful piece of information and backing it up with a credible source. Another angle I like to use is 80% of your success is 20% of your doing. So 80% of growing muscle is committing to the consistency of showing up and being willing to take rest days. 20% of it happens in the gym. So you can have as many where you can work out twice a day if you want to. But if you don't believe in taking breaks on the groups that get sore and you don't believe in good rest, then you're never really going to be able to grow muscle in the way that you want to. Again, I'm just pulling random examples from my head. So another angle I like to use is the secret. The secret to a desired result is the name of your strategy. That starts with a technical step, an example of that technical step, and you're going to feel, desired outcome. So the secret to crushing it in your next half marathon is pacing. And that starts with doing easier, softer runs for longer periods of time. And what I mean by that is when you go out and you run, don't try to kill yourself every time you're going to do a long run. And instead, just do longer runs that are lower intensity. And you're going to feel a lot better when the time comes to actually run your next half marathon. So again, this is helpful content. I sound like I know what I'm talking about, even though I'm not a trainer and I don't know anything about running marathons. I've ran 2 half marathons in my life, but you're able to communicate effectively things that people can get a payoff of. Another example I like to use is the most often I. So most often I see people doing the thing they think is right, but is actually wrong. So most often I see people, let me see. Let me think of an example of something that's an outcome that people want. Most often I see people posting like crazy, and they're posting on all the platforms, and they're not being very thoughtful about it. And so, they think that by posting a bunch, they're going to get a bunch of attention, and not that if I make posts intentional, then they'll reach the right people. And so because they're not doing that, they're not able to get the people who they can actually help's attention, because they're trying to serve everybody and make sure all of their content serves everybody. And so now I'm literally just talking about my perception of the marketplace, in fact, the one I work in. And it's just a general feedback post, but it's still giving people helpful, actionable advice. Another angle is if you're trying to. So if you're trying to get the desired result, it needs 3 things. And this is where you can get 3 helpful, actionable items. Without those 3 things, it's not going to happen. So if you're trying to become a pastry chef, you need 3 things. The first is good ingredients. You don't need a ton of ingredients. You just need good ingredients. The second is an oven. Like most of the good pastry stuff is going to be made in an oven. If you don't have that, you're probably going to be really limited in what you're able to create. And the third thing, and this is just my thing, I love a good mixer, because when I have a mixer, it makes things so much faster. They're kind of a pain to clean, but oh my gosh, I'm mixing stuff and I can focus on what I'm doing. And without those 3 things, it's going to be really hard to become a pastry chef. And so now I just made some content about that. I love the ChatGPT was asked angle. I don't know why I think these are engaging. I think it's because I'm 30. So you actually go to ChatGPT and you ask it, what are the brutal truths in your industry? And you just read those aloud. So the brutal truth behind becoming a grill master. It is about the Traeger, and it's about buying some premium meats, but it's mostly about patience. And then you're just reading what ChatGPT has produced for you. A good angle is I don't care. So I don't care what your environmental factor is. This is actually handling an objection ahead of time. So I don't care if, I don't care if you have a budget of $400. You have to understand that if you're going to become a person who travels, you have to be comfortable with staying at hostels. And I tell people, if you're trying to travel on a low budget, it's probably going to be very difficult for you to find good stay. And so you just become comfortable with staying in hostels. You're just sleeping there for the night. You'll be able to see the countries you want. You'll be able to stay within the budgets you have, and you won't have to go bankrupt traveling. So I'm talking about the mindset. I'm talking about the actionable advice, and I'm, really surrounding it with what the payoff is, the desired outcome they have. An angle I like is if you don't understand. So if you're going to, and we're going to hang that. So a lot of these are like either a carrot or a stick. I'm using either a carrot to motivate my audience or a stick to motivate my audience. So, we always use the payoff as the big carrot. So let's just say I'm working with somebody who wants to learn how to do knitting. So if you're going to become a knitting expert, you have to understand that good knitting takes time and technical expertise. It's not about just making the thing you want. You have to start with the fundamentals. So if you don't understand the fundamentals, you're going to be behind. And you might think, well, if my goal is just to make a blanket, then I should just make a blanket. But without learning the fundamentals of loop stitches, then you're going to be in trouble, and that blanket's not going to look the way that you want it to. So I'm now all of a sudden an expert on knitting, even though I've never touched knitting in my entire life. So this one's a little bit more complicated. This one plays into the mental standpoints that they're at, and then the breakthroughs that they're supposed to have. And so, everybody wants the result, but they also want the desired breakthrough that comes with it. So there's 2. So let me see. I'm going to pick an industry. Let's just say I help people become scuba divers. So there's two mindsets around becoming an expert scuba diver. There's the I just buy the fancy equipment and then I go out and I just rip it. And then there's the I'm going to work and build a community of people who are experienced divers so that they show me how to dive in conditions. And most people, they get all this equipment. So I'm not talking about the common pain. They don't use it. They're worried and scared about using it. And so, because most people, they just want to be independent. And, the independence in this sport is like, it's not being sharing. It's not like actually learning from other people. And it's not getting hands-on practice when you're doing things alone. You never discover anything new. So if you're willing to be a part of a scuba community, then and be open and willing to learn from other people and explore with those people because they have experience in those areas, you'll enjoy your scuba diving experience much more. You'll be able to go into new areas and you'll become an expert scuba diver much quicker. So I'm now challenging a lot of beliefs. I'm telling them how they should be thinking and what they were thinking before. I like if there's one message, because this is a short video. I don't really like making longer videos. So if there's one message I want you to walk away with, it's to do these action items without the common reward right away. It means doing the action item when nobody sees it. So if there's one message I want you to walk away with, it's that you just need to do hypertrophy and compound exercises without seeing the muscle growth right away. It means doing that even though people aren't recognizing how much muscle you're gaining right away, and just being okay with it because you're putting in the work. So again, I'm going to fitness for some reason. Fitness is very easy because it's such a large market. I'm going to actually pause here because I feel like that's already a ton of stuff, and I'm actually going to I'm going to slow this video down because I talk really fast when I have slides. I hope you found these hooks helpful. They can be made into 3-minute or less pieces of content. And if you have done my escape and arrival process, you'll be very pleasantly surprised at how simple this actually is when you try to make longer content. If you find these videos helpful and you want to get more hooks or how to map content or any of the other deep dives that I typically do with my clients, you can go to brandlab2025.com. I have a book there, and it's really the process I use when a client actually pays us. And I just give it to you in advance, because if you get some results, then you'll want the next thing from me. brandlab2025.com is where you can get my book.